How you guys doing? Back with another late night discussion. I want to talk about something that I've heard when I was young, when I was a child, and I heard it when I was an adolescent as well. Um, this is what I heard. I heard the famous saying, and I'm sure all of you have heard it as well. There's no romance without finance. Classic quote, right? Now, no romance without finance. That's what I've heard people say. Um, there's some men who don't have to have finance in order to get romance. See, I used to believe that you got to have finances in order to get romance, but you don't got to have finances in order to get romance. There are plenty of guys who don't have no finances, but they can still get some romances. Um, if you a man and you got to have assets in order for a woman to deal with you, all that means is that you're just not worth nothing. The man that you are is just not good enough. And one thing I had to learn is that some men just ain't good enough for women. I'm not good enough for a woman. There are some men that's just not good enough in order to get nobody. And if you a man and you know you're not good enough, just tell yourself that you ain't good enough. Some men ain't good enough to get a woman. God didn't put greatness in everybody. And there are some men who are just not attractive to women. You know, women find some men to be ugly, unfortunately. Uh, if you a man and you gotta have a nice home, a nice car, because I was listening to Steve Harvey, he said on his show, what does a what does a man who's unattractive to women need in order to not be unattractive? A high paying income, a nice car, nice home. If you got to have all of that in order to be marketable to a woman, that just proves that you're not good enough as a man, because there are plenty of guys who don't wash their behind. They don't spray on no cologne. They don't have nothing going on, but yet they got a rotation of women. And a lot of these dusty, stank type of dudes, women allow these men to move into their crib. So if you got to have finance in order to get some romance, that just proves you at a deficit. Because I used to really believe that I got to have, uh, big money in order for a woman to love me. But that's one of the main reasons to why I want to be a millionaire, so I can get a beautiful woman to love me. You know, some men got to buy their way to a woman's heart. Some men would have to be a millionaire in order for a woman to love them, because God just didn't put, greatness in everybody. Some men just don't make the cut when it comes to women. Some men are just ugly to women. Uh, if Steve Harvey wasn't a millionaire, I don't believe Steve Harvey would have his wife. I do not believe women find Steve Harvey to be a good looking man. It's a lot of men who are in a good financial position, um, who have these marriages or whatnot. But what I had to understand is that a lot of these marriages are not genuine. It's all based on money. And I believe that's why a lot of these men, when the marriage end up going sour and they end up breaking up, I believe that's why a lot of these men don't even be heartbroken over it, because they know the woman didn't love them no way. They knew the woman wasn't attracted to him no way. You know, uh, some men just got to have things going on in order for a woman to deal with them. There are some men who don't have to have assets in order to attract women. They don't need that. But if you a man and you got to have finance in order to get some romance, that's how you know you just don't make the cut when it comes to these women. You don't make the cut at all. And it's a lot of guys that don't make the cut, you know? It's a lot of men that don't make the cut when it comes to women. Um, some men are just not attractive to women. I mean, there are some men who can screw any woman they want. You take a dude like um Tank, R&B singer Tank. I'm pretty sure he could screw any race of woman that he want to screw. White, Asian, it don't matter. There are some men who are just that guy, you know. Women like them. And they can screw anybody they want to screw. They don't gotta have finance. Because because I had to understand that if you a man and you gotta have things, because I always believe that you gotta have things and you gotta trick off, and there's nothing wrong with tricking off. Even T.I. said it's not tricking if you got it. But if you a man and you can't attract a woman on the strength of yourself alone, that's how you know women don't find you to be a good looking man. Women just don't dig you. You know, some men just not that guy when it come to women. They just not that dude. You can't help if you're not that guy when it come to women. God didn't make everybody a sex symbol. Some dudes just ain't got it. Some men have to have assets in order to attract a woman. They gotta have money. And I've always been perfectly fine with a woman using me because I know that that's what it's going to be anyway. I'm the type of dude who's going to have to get used by a woman because I know no woman would ever love me for me. And it's a lot of guys like that. Some guys, unfortunately, women just not going to love them for them. And I think it's sad if you got to have something in order for a woman to want to be with you. Because when you think about all these dusty ninjas out here who don't have nothing going for themselves, but they get a lot of vagina. They get a lot of vagina, and a lot of those dudes have multiple baby mamas. They got women on rotation. And when you have men like that who don't have nothing going for themselves, but yet they have a plethora of women, that's how you know as a man you're just not chosen. Some men are just not that dude. If you a man and you got to have assets in order to get a woman, that just means you're not worth nothing. And I always felt that I got to have a Benz. I got to have a $5,000 Louis Vuitton suit. I got to have a Rolex Milgauss. I got to have a refrigerator full of champagne. I always felt that I got to have all that in order for a woman to deal with my behind. Well, if you got to have all that for somebody to deal with you, then that just proves you at a deficit. Because there's some dudes, they ain't got on no $5,000 Louis Vuitton suits. They not riding in no Mercedes Benz. They not wearing Salvatore Ferragamo dress shoes. They don't have none of that crap. And they still have a woman. So if you got to have finance in order to get some romance, then that just means you're a loser. And that's what I had to understand. That just means that you're a failure and women obviously don't find you attractive. They just don't dig you. I used to really believe that you got to have money and all of this stuff in order to get a woman. It's some men out there who don't have none of that. Some men don't even have a place to lay their head, but yet they got a woman. So as a man, if you got to have all of this crap in order for a woman to invest in you, then that just means you a loser. And the classic saying, there's no romance without finance, that's only true for certain guys. Because I used to really believe that in my younger days. If you gotta have finance in order to get romance, women just don't find you to be a good looking man. because some men don't have to have finances in order to get romance. Some men don't have to take a woman to Fogo de Chao. They don't have to take a woman to Ches Philippe. They don't have to take a woman to Ruth Chris. Some men don't have to do none of this crap in order to get a woman to fool with them. Some men don't have to trick off at all. They don't have to do that. So as a man, if that's what you got to do, that's how you know women just don't find you attractive. And the classic saying, there's no romance without finance, that only applies to men who are not wanted. But that's been tonight's discussion. You guys have a good night.